Nope, that's not it. All right, come on back. But don't sit down yet because we're going to sing. So Amy Steinberg is doing our music this morning. I'll introduce her in just a few minutes. But first, we've got to sing. Now, this is a very simple song. You'll see the lyrics on the screen. It's repetitious and it's easy. And it has several little verses, but they're mostly the same thing over again. So it'll be really easy. So jump right in and sing out. So if you can, please stand. Here we go.
Good morning, Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Amy Steinberg, and I'm so happy to be with you. Happy Sunday. We're going to open up with one of my songs, I Light Up the World. Simple words. You'll see them here. It goes like this. I light up the world with my light. 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 You got it? Join me singing. I light up the world with my light. 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 Now turn to somebody and sing you. You light up the world with your light. You light up the world with your light. Sing to me. You light up the world with your light. You light up the world with your light. Now we as a community, we light up the world with our light. 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 Just take some deep breaths as we prepare to receive today. I light it up, 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 I light it up. Bring it back to the I. I light up the world with my light. 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 Last time, come on. I light up the world with my light. I light up the world with my light. I light up the world with my light. I light up the world with my light.
Woo. All right, you may be seated. And I invite you to go ahead and silence your cell phones right now so that they won't disturb us as we go into the morning celebration. And then just begin to turn within. Now, this centering song that Amy's about to sing, she sometimes invites us to sing along. And if you choose to do that, go right ahead, but I invite you to do it from a deepening place. And then our morning prayer practitioner, Marilyn Letzos, will come up to pray us in just a minute. So, turning within.
Preparing to receive some prayer. I invite you to sing along with me. I am opening. I am opening. My heart is ready to receive. I am opening. I'm opening. My heart is ready to receive. Breathing deeply. Let's sing once more. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening.
And so in this opening, I feel my heart. I go into my heart to the very depths, to the very echoes of my being. And there I connect with the infinite presence, which is greater than I am. And yet, it is the reality of my being. And as I open here into this infinite power, this infinite possibility, the field of pure potentiality, I feel infinite love all around me. And as this is true for me, I know it is true for every single person, because each one is the consciousness, the aliveness, the life of God. That power that gives all of itself, that would never withhold, that is infinite good, present everywhere. Even to those who don't even understand or have any conception of it, it is always present. It is impossible to be outside of this power. It is the life force itself. It abides in every atom, every cell of the physical world. And so knowing that this power is my life and every single life, I speak my word. I speak my word for each one to have that opening of the heart today, that opening into the peace that is part of their being, into the beauty that invites further exploration, more curiosity, into the infinite supply that never fails. And so I give thanks that today in this opening, in this discovery of the more that is always there, I give my thanks. I give my thanks for the receptivity to Spirit speaking right through Reverend Mary, and through the music, and through the eyes of everyone that each one meets this morning. I give thanks for a discovery of self, of the supply that each one is within their own heart. And for this and so much more, I give my thanks for this sublime experience of the infinite presence this morning as each one. And so it is.
And so it is.
Amen.
I'm gonna lay my burden down now. I'm gonna leave it on the ground. Well, this freedom I am feeling well can't be found when I'm looking down. No, 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 no. I'm gonna climb up to the mountain, spread my wings and fly, 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 fly. All these blessings I'm counting well. I got more than all the stars in the sky. I got more than all the stars in the sky. I got more than all the stars in the sky. I feel light as a feather, floating on an angel's wing. Now I'll worry about the weather, 'cause I am one with everything. I am one with everything. I'm one with everything. I am 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 one with everything. Yeah, yeah, This world is bright and holy, and heaven is in my sight. All my troubles try to find me, but they can't when I'm on this cosmic flight. I feel right everywhere now, and all I wanna do is sing. And I single solitary care now. 'Cause I am one with everything. I am one with everything. I'm one with everything. I am 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 one with everything. We are unstoppable, just like the wind. Anything is possible from God within. The root is good in each of us here. And the nature of love is in everyone, everywhere. What spirit originates, spirit orchestrates, willingness, gratitude, create your fate. One power, one people under one sun. Peace, love, joy, and freedom. I am one with everything. Yeah, I am one with everything. This peace that penetrates me moves quicker than a laser beam. Oh, the devil cannot faze me, 'cause I am one with everything. I am one with everything. I am one with everything.
So I want to say a special thank you to Amy Steinberg. And Amy's been around for a while. She's a Posey award-winning songwriter and singer and storyteller. She moved from Boston to Florida as a little girl when she started studying music and theater at age 4. So she is based in Asheville, North Carolina, where she is the creatrix of House of Love and Light, an online spiritual community. She has been music director in San Diego, Charlotte, Boca Raton, loves the New Thought community. So as you can see, she's happy to be back with us this morning, and we're really grateful to have her. So thank you, Amy. All right. So we are moving on into Living from the Heart of Wonder once again. And because I've been doing this series on the comparison between our teachings in Science of Mind and world faiths, today we're moving on to looking at the path of oneness. The path of oneness. And the path of oneness is Taoism. Taoism is an ancient Chinese teaching, and it is only 81 short verses. It's the shortest scripture in the world. It's also interesting because no one really knows how it came to be. There is a story, a tradition, that says that on his way out of town, he was leaving finally to head east, the old sage Lao Tzu was stopped by one of the gatemen or rivermen who asked him to write down his wisdom before he left town. Now, Lao Tzu, the name Lao Tzu, which I may not be pronouncing properly in Chinese, but it really kind of means the old guy or the old master, the old sage. So, we're not sure who it really was. But one of the teachings that came out of it was the name of the Tao, the book that he wrote, the Dao De Jing. Tao means the way or the path. Te, or De, means virtue or power. And Jing means it's a scripture or it's a canon or a holy work, a classic. So basically, Dao De Jing means the way and its power, or the path and its virtue. And it's a text, it's a sacred text. So the old guy wrote this down, supposedly, before he left town. And I want to share with you something from, the 81 are only listed by number, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's it. The first one is this: the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of the 10,000 things. Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one sees the manifestations. These two spring from the same source, but differ in name. This appears as darkness, darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. So right off the bat, you get the idea that there is a recognition of a wholeness that has two aspects to it, both the transcendent, that cannot be named, and the immanent, which can be named, that which is visible, that which can be given a specific title or name. And one of the teachings in Taoism is that everything is connected. Now, sometimes when you make the assumption that everything is connected, you can take it a little bit too far, or you might misunderstand something and apply it oddly that doesn't quite work. Like this fellow I heard about who he brought his luxury motorhome. It got towed, actually, into the car dealership. And it was just a twisted mess. You know, the front end was smashed up. It was just destroyed. And apparently, what happened was this guy on the highway set his cruise control, went in the back to make a sandwich, thinking he had a self-driving vehicle. You know, we may be attached to, connected to everything, but that doesn't necessarily mean that everything understands our intention all the time. So he got himself into this situation. Now, the physicist David Bohm says this. Ultimately, he says, we have to understand the entire universe as a single, undivided whole. Instead of separating the universe into living and non-living things, Bohm sees animate and inanimate matter as inseparably woven with the life force that is present throughout the universe. And that includes not only matter, but also energy and seemingly empty space. So he goes on to say, Christians, Buddhists, Hindus, Jews, Muslims, Taoists, mystics, tribal cultures, and Greek philosophers have all given remarkably similar descriptions of the universe and the life force that pervades it. Oh no, this was Dwayne Elgin's commentary on what David Bohm said. And he goes on to say, these are more than poetic and metaphorical descriptions, because we find the notion of a living universe emerging across cultures and millennia, as well as from modern science. So there's compelling evidence that it forms the basis of a powerful perceptual paradigm that will open up opportunities for the whole human family when we're pressed to create a sustainable future, which we are at this point now. So in Taoism, what you begin to understand, there are four main principles that are taught in Taoism. One is the interconnectedness of all life. That is the path itself, the way. That's what connects everything. That's the Tao. And then, going on from that there is an underlying unity of all apparent opposites. So you know the yin-yang symbol that I have here in the front, yin-yang. It shows that the positive and negative, or what is manifested and what is not manifested, or what is light and dark, or what is good and bad, they rest on each other's backs, and each one contains part of the other. They require each other in order to exist. So you might think about it this way: in order for us to perceive that something is beautiful, we have to know what it is for something to be ugly. In order to perceive something that we find pleasurable, we have to have things to compare it to, things that are not pleasurable on the other end of the spectrum. But they aren't opposites in that sense, although they appear to be. They are connected to that continuum of wholeness. Does this make sense? what I'm saying? So the second is the underlying unity of apparent opposites. And then the third one is that when you are in alignment with Tao, with the way, with the path, there is power in what you do. And when you are not in alignment with it, the power drains away. So this is kind of like what we talk about in Science of Mind, that you have to live in alignment with the divine nature, with the creative law itself. Otherwise, when you use the creative law negatively or with some intention to harm somebody else, it will turn around and bite you in the butt. Not because you need to be punished, but because it's the same energy that you're putting out, right? Am I speaking English? Yeah. Okay, good. So, and that is the word day. So, Tao, day, that is the integrity of being in alignment. That's the virtue or the power part of being in alignment with the path. And then the fourth one is non-ego motivated action. They call it creative quietude or effortless effort or non-doing. But it actually is operating in flow, without resisting, without grabbing, just being in the flow. You know the little song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat? Wayne Dyer gave that as an example once in one of his talks. It really is a perfect example for the Tao, because often in Taoism, water is used as a metaphor for how to be in the world. Because when we move with what's happening, rather than fight against it, then we build up the power of the momentum that moves with it. So that flow, that operating according to what is needed in the moment, whether it's letting go or taking action, is Wu Wei, creative quietude. Now, there are a bunch of offshoots of Taoism that you're probably familiar with and didn't know that they were related to a spiritual philosophy. For example, Tai Chi Chuan and Qigong. The I Ching, which is an oracle, is related to the Tao. Chinese medicine and acupuncture are related to the Tao. Feng Shui, the art of placement, they're all related to this teaching of the Tao, with the emphasis on being in balance physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, within our environment, within our bodies, minds, emotions, and hearts, all of it in balance. Dynamic balance, so not the balance where you land there and then you just stay put, but rather the kind of balance that is like surfing, where you have to be conscious of the movement of what's taking place and be in harmony with it. Is everybody with me so far? Okay. There's a Taoist proverb that says, "We cannot see our reflection in running water. It is only in still water that we can see." So the idea is that as we become still, we become clearer, not only about nature and what's around us, but what is within us as well. So in order to kind of cement these in place, I'm going to tell you a few stories, or read to you a few stories that are illustrative of this philosophy of Taoism. So, down below the surface of a quiet pond lived a little colony of water bugs. They were happy living far away from the sun, and for many months they were very busy scurrying over the soft mud at the bottom of the pond. They did notice, though, that every once in a while, one of their colony seemed to lose interest in hanging out with its friends, and clinging to the stem of a pond lily, it gradually moved up and out of sight and was seen no more. "Look," said one of the water bugs to another, "one of our colony is climbing up the lily stalk. Where do you suppose it's going?" And up it went, slowly. As they watched, the water bug disappeared from sight, and they waited but it didn't return. That was odd, one water bug said. Wasn't it happy here? Asked a second. Where do you suppose it went? Asked a third. Well, finally, one of the water bugs, who was a leader in the colony, gathered his friends together. I have an idea. The next one of us who climbs up the lily stalk must promise to come back and tell us where they went and why. We promise, they all said solemnly. Well, one spring day, not long afterward, the very water bug who had made this suggestion found itself climbing up the lily stalk, and it went up, and before it knew what was happening, it had broken through the surface of the water and fallen onto the broad green lily pad, falling asleep in exhaustion. When it woke, it could not believe what it saw. A startling change had come over its body. Moving soon revealed 4 silvery wings and a long tail. And even as it struggled, it felt an impulse to move its wings. The warmth of the sun soon dried up the moisture on the new body. It moved its wings again and suddenly found itself up above the water. It had become a dragonfly. Swooping and dipping in great curves, it flew through the air, exhilarated in this new atmosphere. And soon, the new dragonfly lighted happily back on a lily pad to rest. And then it happened to look below, and it saw all the way down to the bottom of the pond, and there were its old friends, the water bugs, and they were all scurrying around just as they had been doing before this one climbed the lily stalk. And then the dragonfly remembered its promise. The next one of us who climbs up the lily stalk must come back and tell where they went and why. So the dragonfly darted down, hit the surface of the water, and bounced right off. It couldn't go back under the water. It was quite distressed. But then it thought, well, even if I could go back, none of the water bugs would recognize me in this new body. I'll just have to wait until they become dragonflies too, and then they'll understand where I went and why. And then it winged off to explore its wonderful new world of sunlight and air. So this story of the water bugs and the dragonflies reminds us to go with flow in that experience of being one with all that is. This dragonfly, although it appears to be different from the water bugs, it's still connected with them. There's still a oneness going on there. There's still a relationship. And the dragonfly's power arises out of going in the flow with what it has become. So if the dragonfly were to resist that and keep trying to dive into the water, it could probably beat itself to death on the surface of the stream or the river or pond, or it can surrender to who it is now and what it has become, just as it is and just as it is not. The second one is a really delightful story. This mother wanted to encourage her young son's progress on the piano. So she took him to a Paderewski concert. And after they were seated in the auditorium, she saw a friend of hers and went over to say hello and left her little boy there in his chair. And so, he looked around at the concert hall. It seemed so wonderful that he just got up and started exploring. And he wandered around, and he went through a door that had a sign on it he couldn't read. And when the house lights dimmed and the concert was about to begin, the mother went back to her seat and discovered that her son was missing. And just as she began to get worried, the curtains opened and the spotlights focused on this impressive Steinway on the stage, and in horror she saw her little boy sitting at the piano on the stage playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And at that moment, Paderewski himself made his entrance, and he quickly moved over to the piano and whispered in the little boy's ear, "Don't stop playing." And then leaning over, he reached around with his left hand and filled in a bass line. And then his right arm went around and he added a running obligato. And together, the old master and a little novice transformed what might have been into what might have been an embarrassing moment into a wonderful delightful creative experience for them both and for the entire audience. This was another example of going with the flow, not resisting, of recognizing oneness and acting from that in what was spontaneously called forth in the moment. So there was a oneness between apparent opposites, a power that arose because of their connection in the flow. The third one comes from a Taoist book called The Way of Changsu, something like that. He is a later Taoist teacher, and he's kind of like Rumi, like a Chinese Rumi, and he writes, when an archer is shooting for nothing, he has all his skill. If he shoots for a brass buckle, he's already nervous. If he shoots for a prize of gold, he goes blind. Or he sees two targets, he's out of his mind. His skill has not changed, but the prize divides him. He cares. He thinks more about winning than of shooting. And the need to win drains him of power. So you see, in that moment, the archer is no longer in the flow of what it is that he's doing. He's grabbing for something. And because he's no longer in flow, he's not in awareness of the connection and the needs of the moment. So when he makes his shot, it may go wildly astray or hit the ground or miss the target, definitely not hit the bullseye as a win, because he's not present in his body, in the action. He's not in flow. He's the water trying to beat against the rock, or the dragonfly trying to beat against the surface of the water. And then, finally, from one of my favorite authors, Huston Smith. And this is a story that gets told in Buddhist circles, in Hindu circles, and in Taoist circles. And in a moment, I'll tell you what Huston Smith's take is on why that is. But this is the story. So you all have heard this story. It's the story of a farmer whose horse ran away. And his neighbor comes over to commiserate. Oh, what rotten luck. It's so awful that your horse ran away. And the farmer takes that in and says, maybe not. Well, the farmer is right with this observation, because the next day, the horse comes home and it brings with it a whole herd of wild horses that it's kind of befriended out on its wanderings. And the neighbor sees the horses and comes right back over again and says, oh, wow, what good luck this is. Look at what you've got to work with here. Farmer says, maybe not. Well, he's right again, because the next day, his son goes out to start working with these wild stallions to try and break them, and one of them throws him, and he breaks his leg. Well, of course, the neighbor's been there watching the whole thing, comes over to the farmer. Oh, this is terrible. This is awful. You don't have your son to help you on the farm. What rotten luck. And once again, the farmer just says, well, maybe not. The day after that, the army comes to town and they're conscripting all of the young men to fight in the war. But the farmer's son is left behind because he can't serve because of his broken leg. And of course, the neighbor is there again to weigh in. Oh, what good luck. All our young people have had to go off to war, but not your son. What a great blessing that is to you. What good luck. Well, the farmer says, maybe not. This farmer is in alignment with the moment. He's not condemning the moment. He's not overly celebrating the moment. He's just there with what's happening, with a kind of curiosity for what might be next. He's open to what's going to show itself. Does this make sense? Does this help illustrate some of these examples? So we can tell when we're in our own process with our lives, when we are actually in flow and when we're really not in flow. And generally, we don't think in the moment, I need to let go. But with the Tao, just as what Michael Beckwith says to us, that all spiritual growth is about letting go. It's about releasing. Because from a spiritual perspective, we're all already it. So with the Tao, it's a recognition of wholeness and then letting go of the stuff that we want to push away or the stuff that we want to grab onto and keep it and have more of. It's going with the coming and going, the constant change, and just being there with it as it is and as it isn't, and as we are and as we aren't, all at the same time. In the science of mind, then, our parallels are like this. First, that there is only one, that God is all there is. Well, that's the second one too, that there's only one. So God is all there is, that means everything is interconnected. There is only one, that means we experience a unity of opposites. How many have I got up there? There we go. And the recognition that there is power in the correct use of the law. Ernest Holmes is very clear about the way that we use creative law, that we don't put the power into it. We only let it do what it's going to do anyway, and we create the right internal conditions to be in harmony with its action in order to bring forward more of something or less of something. We have to be, though, in alignment with creative law. We can't call upon it to work against its own nature. We can't do that. And we can't call upon it to work against our own nature. Or I shouldn't say we can, but it doesn't work very well when we do that. It will act upon it, but the results, I promise you, you won't like. So what we want is to be in alignment with that power, with that creative law. And that's what allows us to be in harmony and to manifest. And then to flow, to let go and let God. You know, I think that we would, all of us as a human species, we would be much more at ease with everything that happens in the world, from horrible, devastating tragedies to huge, tremendous successes and exhilarating thrills, if we were able to just allow it to be what it is. Byron Katie says, don't argue with reality. That's how you get to be unhappy, and that's what suffering is about, when you argue with what is. One of the interesting things that she says that I always ponder, because I'm not sure I quite get it, is when you think something should be different than it is because it's bad, or it could be improved, or whatever. When you get into that place of it should be different or this way or whatever, she says, no, it shouldn't, because this is how it is. Therefore, that's how it should be. Then it's up to us to find our matching wavelength or energy or a cooperative flow along with it. So it doesn't mean that we don't take action, right? But it means that the action that we take is not ego-bound. So for example, if we want to make a stand for Ukraine, for example, and not everybody feels that way. If we want to make a stand for Ukraine, what we're doing is we're not doing that as an opposition to somebody else pushing away. We're not doing it as a desperation where we're trying to make something happen in Ukraine, like we're trying to grab democracy and anchor it everywhere. Rather, because those are both ego things, they are the assumptions that we have all the answers and we know everything involved, which we never possibly could. True? Are you sure? Yeah, we can't really know all of it, right? So instead, we take the action that is most in alignment with our principles, our values, who we feel we are, and at the same time, we let go of the results. This is what we do with treatment as well. When we do our form of spiritual mind treatment, we declare the spiritual truth, but we don't get hung up in the appearances or how long it takes for something to show up differently, or that it's stuck there, or that we must not be doing it right, or that treatment doesn't really work, because that's all digging around in it, rather than dwelling in the let go and let God. When I teach spiritual mind treatment, I often say to students that when I was learning how to pray in this way, I always added to the end of it, this or something better now manifests for me for the highest good of all concerned. So I'm letting go then of how that's going to look, how it's going to show up, where it's going to come from. And it might mean, too, that my own sense of what it was that I thought I wanted to open into also shifts. So I sort of feel like when we do spiritual mind treatment, what we're really asking is to be changed. We think we're asking for something else to be changed. We're actually asking to be changed ourselves. Because when the treatment manifests, it can't do that until we change. It is the way it is now, because we are the way we are. When we make a change within ourselves, then what's out there comes back into flow with us, and so it comes to match where we are, but not when we're grabbing and pushing away, grabbing and pushing away. Is this making sense what I'm saying? You know, often, if you can, and we can all do this at least some of the time, when you pray and you want to open to something new, or you want to release something from the past, or you want to be guided for a decision you want to make, trust that as you let it go into the law, all of the resources of the universe are operating upon that to match the you are becoming, the consciousness you are embodying at a higher level. So it's necessary to do that. So when we go to a practitioner and we say, I had a student come to me once and say, I'm just devastated. My daughter has not invited me to her wedding. We've had a falling out. She won't speak to me. She won't return my calls or my emails. I can't get through to her. And I love this child of mine so much. It breaks my heart that I will not be at her wedding with her. And in talking about it, what I said was, this is the way I would like to pray about this. No matter what it looks like at this moment, you and your daughter have been intimately connected from the very beginning of time in love. And that is still true. That spiritual truth of connection in the oneness never goes away, no matter what the appearance of the moment may be. Life is long. Things can change. They may not change when you want them to. So it's possible that you may not end up going to her wedding, and you may need to let go of that particular attachment and focus on how much you love her and how wonderful you want her wedding to be for her. And so she was in my foundations class, and she said, okay, I'll try to do that. And so we did the prayer, we did the treatment, and she felt that she let it go, that she was focused on her love for her daughter. The next week, she came to class and she said, my daughter called me, it's all resolved, we're in a loving place with each other, and I'm going to the wedding. Now, if she had thought that by doing a prayer of releasing, the universe would be fooled into it and give her what she wanted, see, it probably wouldn't have worked. It comes with the inner change. So when the practitioner knows the truth for you, that is a powerful thing in the law, and it's released into the law. But on the recipient side of it, when we're the client, we have to then, our job then, is to be open to the prayer, to surrender to what comes forth for our highest good, whether it looks like what we thought it had to look like or not. So prayer is always an active thing. It's not about us as a bunch of spectators asking God to do something and waiting for God to get around to it. Come on already. No, it's not that. Instead, it is a participatory process, the prayer, whether we're doing it ourselves or we're doing it with a practitioner and having them do the prayer work for us. It is always about surrender, surrendering the pain, surrendering the need to have it this way, surrendering the resistance to somebody or something. You know, one of the things Byron Katie puts into the work is she says, whatever it is you never want to see happen again, you want to shift that to, I look forward to seeing this happen again. Now that's a big lesson, a big order, you know. This, which always irritates me, and something just popped into my head that I'm going to be dealing with today, that I wish I didn't have to deal with, is like, I look forward to that experience. Okay, let's see if I could do that. I look forward to that experience. All right, let's see how that works, you see. So when we begin to practice, then we're always called upon to grow. We're always called upon to change. And as long as we're living in physical form, our bodies are the role model for this, because they're constantly changing as is appropriate for the time and space and consciousness that they're in with us, right? You know, sometimes we look upon the aging process as a negative, like if I really embraced wholeness consciousness, I would not be aging. I would not be experiencing any of the effects of aging, right? It's who you really are that is immortal and changeless, not the vehicle. If the vehicle didn't change, we'd want to hang out here forever, and there's so much more stuff to explore and discover and be and do. I mean, there's an infinite amount of coolness available in the infinite that we don't remember from when we were there before, because we need to be here, and we don't want to cheat ourselves out of. So, in some cases, the vehicle becomes less hospitable, so that eventually we can say goodbye to it with love. Like, thank you, boy, I really used you up. You did a really good job being the temple for this spirit. I want to thank you. And I am especially grateful to be able to lay you down now. You see? So this is the process of the Tao. At each moment, we are exactly where we need to be. And that doesn't mean we can't open into the next moment, because it's already happening. From the moment we walked in today until now, we're a completely different person. And when we go to get in our cars to go home, we'll be different again. It's changing. The people you sang to and said good morning to, look around, they look the same, but they're not. Something's already shifted. So, I want to close with this from Ernest Holmes, and this is from a little booklet of his called Freedom from Stress. We see that the first principle of life is oneness. The first performance of life is multiplying itself without dividing itself. Life must be one. And that one, in order to be expressed, must be many. But the many, in order to exist, must live in the one. We are bound into a supreme unity, he says. We are tied into an immutable law of cause and effect. That is the way unity moves into action. Cause and effect is something that happens as a result of the recognition of unity. Consequently, we are one even while we are many, and since each of us is a part of the whole, if we seek to destroy each other, we ultimately hurt only ourselves. This is the great lesson of life. And so it is. Namaste. So I'm going to invite you now. Oh, thank you. I'm going to invite you now to turn within with me as we anchor this awareness in prayer. In the fullness of this one, every one of us is the face of the divine presence. Every one of us is an avatar in becoming. Every one of us has more to reveal of the endless possibilities of who and what we are. This is so for us because we're made of the infinite mystery that contains all possibilities. And so as we live them and experience them and try them out and discard some and develop others, we are flowing with all that the infinite wants to be as us and all that our spirit came here to be as the one with our name, who is manifesting the one as us. And so with awe, with wonder, with gratitude and delight, we flow into this week, allowing ourselves to remember again and again that wholeness offers all possibilities to us at every moment. And as we enter into it as it is and as it isn't, and flow toward it, more and more peace, equanimity, evenness, and understanding develop within us and pour forth from us as compassion, as love, as creativity, as peace. We claim this good for ourselves and our loved ones right now, knowing that this has always been the truth in the mind of God. And so we let it go into the law where it's already done, where it always has been complete. We let it be. And therefore we say together, and so it is. Amen. And now I'd like to invite you to stand and join me for the morning affirmation. Together. There is only one. No matter the appearances, there is no separation between us. I cannot be outside the divine presence, and neither can anyone else. When I see you, I see myself. There is only one of us. Yes, you may be seated. Thank you. So this is our sacred offering time, and I invite our ushers to come forward to receive the offering. I said a couple weeks ago that when we give our gifts, what we're dealing with is God in action. Energetically, it is the divine presence. So when you send the divine presence out into the world, it is available to be sent to the places and to the work that you send it to do. So if you're paying your electric bill, for example, electricity and gas, if you're paying that bill, when you send it with a blessing, then it goes not only to pay what you owe, but also to bring good into that office, into the person who opens up that payment and applies it to your account, to the actual equipment doing the work, to the persons reading it, to everybody who has access to the records. It just flows through them. So when we bless all the gifts that Golden Gate has received this week, let's do it with the intention that for every cent that Golden Gate spends, there is a healing taking place somewhere. As we give our gifts this morning and as we bless all the gifts that have been given. If you'd like to text to donate this morning. The number is 415-779-7613. You can just go ahead and put in an amount. If you're giving your tithe or offering this morning, or if you have one of the little, I auto-tithed, hold that near your heart. If you're giving with a loved one, hold it in your hands together. And we are going to go ahead and bless the offering right now by saying this together. This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is.
Thanks for having me. My eyes are wide and open. My eyes can see. My mind is full of knowing. My mind believes. I am awake. I am awake. And once you know where your freedom lies, you can't go back and close your eyes. The truth, it cannot be denied. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light. That's right. We are one. My heart is clear and growing. My heart can see. And my soul is full of knowing. My soul believes. Join me singing, I am awake. I am awake. I am awake. Come on. And once you know where your freedom lies, you can't go back and close your eyes. The truth, it cannot be denied. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light. That's right. Come on, sing it. Sing it. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light. Once you know, here we go. Once you know where your freedom lies, you can't go back and close your eyes. The truth, it cannot be denied. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light. Tell somebody. You see it. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light. Tell yourself. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light. You are the light, yeah. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light. You are, you are, you are. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light. You are the light, you are the light, you are the light, yeah.
So on behalf of all of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, we do together accept this offering and put it to work through us out into the world for the highest good of all concerned. And so it is. So, if you're here with us for the first time this morning, we have a gift for you back on the back table. You'll find welcome packets back there. You can grab one of those. And inside is a blue card. We invite you to fill it out, turn it in back there, and we'll give you a little book. Galen's back there holding them up. We'll give you a little book as our thank you to you for being here this morning and our invitation for you to come back. That little book can be carried with you. It contains affirmations that are good for all sorts of experiences in your life, and you can have it to bring you back to center when you need for that to happen. Now, I want to also thank everybody who was here this morning to pull off this beautiful morning for us, our practitioners on duty at the table who are not who I thought was going to be over there. And so their names are going to be wrong when they come up here. And Rick on sound, who I have down as Jim this morning. I don't know where I was. But anyway, for everybody, for Leslie who created the altar, let's give all of our people in service a hand. All right. Yeah. So I mentioned this last week, but I want to remind you, we're heading into summer, close enough to summer, at the beginning of June. And summer is a time that everybody is invited to bring snacks rather than have people sign up for specific weeks, because we know that people come and go throughout the summer. So we invite you, that's not the right one. We invite you to bring healthy snacks. What happened to my healthy snacks? Well, that's not really the one for the snacks. But, Paula, where are you? She's probably already in the kitchen. Our Sunday morning team are people who greet you at the door and give you your program and any handouts, who come up to do the offering, receive the offering. And they're also the people who put out all the goodies after the service. Paula is getting closer to doing this by herself, and that's not going to work. So what we want is to have a little team every single week that will help with that. Once a month, come in a little bit early to greet people, to make them welcome. So I invite you to talk to Paula this morning. She's the one with the short hair, glasses. I'll point her out the next time she wanders in here. Also, so I just want to let you know that she is available to tell you everything about it and for you to sign up and help on the Sunday teams. I also want to let you know that we could use some more people on our altar team. So if you're interested in participating with creating an altar once every other month, I would love to have you talk to me. That would be very, very helpful. All right, let's see what comes up next. There they are, healthy snacks, and I've already said that. So I'm going to go right on. Our men's group has 2 events coming up. The first one is a men's gathering on Saturday, May 28th in North San Rafael. All the details for it are in your bulletin this morning, and you can talk to Steve Einhaus right back here, Mr. Furry, if you have questions, and he'd be happy to answer questions for you about that. Guys, make sure that they know you're coming so that they don't, but the directions are in the program, so you should be able to find them. Also, our famous men's brunch returns. Woo, 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 woo. We are so happy to have the men's brunch coming back, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be scheduled for June 5th, so that's in 2 Sundays. It's only $10. Come ready to enjoy brunch, and the guys will be setting up over here, and we'll have a wonderful morning together. Our first brunch since we've come back to the community center, and actually our first brunch since we started back after COVID. So it's a big deal that we're going to do that. Also, we are signing up folks that are enrolling for the next Food Bank Sacred Service from 10 to 12 on Tuesday, June 14th, I think it is. And if you're interested in signing up to participate in that, please talk to Ellen Nicosia. She's right over here this morning. And also, you can see Ellen's information in the program, so you can email her or text her or whatever, but give her all your contact info. And, you don't have to choose a week this time because there's only one to choose from. So just let her know all that stuff. And our climate action tip for this week is to let you know that new climate action workshops are now scheduled. They're beginning in June. Some of them are on Tuesdays, some of them are on Thursdays. It's free. It's 5 weeks to learn and raise consciousness and practice to have a palpable impact on our interaction with planet Earth that is for the good. So I encourage you to take a look at that at resilientneighborhoods.org. Now, our prayer box is always over here on the practitioner table every Sunday, and it's available. You can go over there, fill out a request anytime, put it in the box. Preferably not during the talk, but those practitioners that are at the table today will be praying over those requests this week, all week for you. And if you have a heavy heart this morning, if there's something you're having a hard time letting go of, or there's something you're really grabbing for, I recommend that you allow one of them to do prayer for you this morning. Enter in with a spirit of allowing yourself to change in a way that supports the flow of what you want to be experiencing. And they will know that truth with you and speak words that will help you to move there. So I encourage you to do that. And I'm going to invite the practitioners to stand around the room right now so that we can do our closing prayer for you. So I'm going to invite all of the practitioners now to join me as we pray for our alignment with the flow. So going within. Right here and now, in this moment, I recognize and know that there is one magnificent, vast, whole, complete, perfect, energetic beingness. It permeates everything that is, which means that it's all I can be. It is all any one of us is. It is all there is. No matter where we look, no matter what we see or experience, it arises out of the one. And we bless even the contrasts that help us to know the highest, the best, the most beautiful, and allow us to move toward them. So this week, we are open to the wonder of who we are. We are open to setting aside our self-judgments and allowing the universe to reveal to us our sacred gifts, our holiness, our awesomeness. And with gratitude, we invite the universe to open our eyes to see that in everyone we come into contact with, recognizing the mirroring of this wholeness. And so with gratitude, we feel the wholeness in this place. We are lifted into a place of deeper wholeness and connection in mind, heart, body, spirit, emotions. And we're grateful for the reminder, for the law, and for the manifestation of this truth now, letting it go with gratitude. And together, we claim it by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Please stand and join me now in the benediction and the closing song. So we say this together because it's not about a benediction, one of these, where from up here, I'm extending out the blessing to you peons. No, this is a unity voice of benediction for all of us. So we say together, I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God. And whoever places a hand in mine is lifted. And whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness. For spirit and all people and I are one eternally. And so it is. And here's our closing. This is a Ricky Byers song. Simple, short, easy.
Thank you so much for having me this morning. Hope you'll join me singing this closing song. We let the love. It goes like this. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. How about the joy? We let the joy wash over us. We let it be. We let it be. Have a fabulous Sunday and a fabulous week. I love you.